So I think all are joined, right? So let's start the session. So I hope you received a week by week session plan. I guess from the Shiva, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So actually we have a from today onwards we are going to discuss about this palette options. So palette options is a main a key like it's like a key in the key role in like it plays a key role in the integration suite actually. So with the help of these palette options, we can do anything in the CPA level. So in the we can do modify or whatever we required in the content, in the integration content level, we can do it. We can modify anything. So let's connect to the CPA system and I'll show you what are the palette options we have and how it will work. All those details we'll discuss day by day. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Dinesh. Yes.
So let's use one default flow for all the palette options to create and everything. Okay. So let's take one vendor. This is one package, and the package we have created one integration flow. So with the help of this integration flow, we will use all the content, all the palette options, and we'll do the modifications in the same flow, and we'll do it. Okay, so we'll test it as well. So let's see because because the like palette options will use to modify the data actually. Okay, so if you require to modify anything, you can use these palette options. If you want to convert anything, like we receive data from the source in XML format. Okay, if the target is expecting in the JSON format, so we can convert that. If you are receiving the source file in CSV format, if you want to convert into a XML format to the target, and the last class we discussed right about this formats dot XML files, dot CSV files. So we have discussed. So each file format will have the different. So each palette options will have their own transformation and capability to transform the data. Okay. So whenever take any palette, let's take these palette options. Okay, first we'll check this palette participants. So when you check this participant, what participant will do? So like in the real time world also we'll make it we will take these words actually. We'll use these words in the real time as. What is meant by participant? Participant mean by who is part any cultural program, any activities, right? Who's participating for these activities? So then we call it as a participant, right? So who are participating in the uh, program or anything? So we'll call it as a participant. So here, who are the participants? So here we are sending the data. Sender is participating to send data, and receiver is participating to receive the data. So the participant should be the sender and receiver here in the integration flow. Okay, if you take any flow in the integration process, sender and receiver will be the participant. So in this palette option, this is one of the palette option. If you see, this is one of the palette option, and these are all our options enabled here, right? These are all related to the palette options. Under this, we have different palette options enabled. Each and individual palette options related to the participant. If you go for this process, in the process we have different palette options. So these are all the different palette options we will use to modify the data. Okay. So from sender and receiver, this is just simple. If you want to add any sender to the existing flow, or if you want to create any new sender to the flow or receiver, so we will go for this. And if you want to add any sender to the existing receiver flow, then we will go here. We will select here. This is the process. Okay, I'll show you again. You need to select this. How we will select this? Okay, so here we have a two options. Directly you can copy from here to here. This is one option. And another option, you need to go to palette option and you need to select the required palette from the functions and you need to select it. Like it's a drag and drop process only. No need to worry about it. It's just a drag and drop process. Okay. So here, if you select any sender, okay, let's take one sender here. If you see here, one box is moving with my cursor, like where I want to place. It's just a process. Okay. If I drop here, I'm not even selected. I'm not using the mouse as well. I just clicked here. I just click the sender and then I keep it in normal. Okay. And with the help of cursor, it's coming to it's flowing in the entire integration process. Okay. So if I click here, then it will paste here. It's like a copy and paste. That's it. Okay. You are selecting with receiver or sender using a copy, and then you are placing it. That's it. You are not doing anything. Even it's not a drag and drop as well. Okay, so you just practice it, then you will get to know. So let's create one flow. Okay, so today this is the overall about the palette options. Okay, so we'll discuss more about each and every palette option from today onwards. So this is the main area we need to work. If you have any questions or if you don't understand anything, no, please let me know in the right away so that I'll explain you uh, because it's a major part in the integration process. Okay, it's like a heart for the integration process. These palette options are the heart for the integration process. If you miss anything, no, if you don't understand anything, no, then you can't work on it. So you need to test one or two scenarios with the palette, single palette option. Then you can check that how it's working and what is the use of this palette option. So these things you need to know. Okay. So this is overall about the palette options. Okay. So let's start. Today we are going to discuss about this process. So what is process? So for each integration flow, we have a one process. So sender will send data and receiver will receive the data. Okay. So when it comes to sender and receiver, it's a one process. But when it comes to CPI, we will follow three processes. Okay. One is exception sub process, one is integration process, and one is local integration process. Okay. So let's talk about exception sub process. So example, we have one flow. Process under process we have three process, right? Exception sub process. So exception subprocess. And one is local integration process and in local integration process. So we have three. Local process. Okay. So we have three palette options here. So when we will go for exception subprocess. Okay. So exception subprocess will use like exception subprocess will help you. Like example, any iFlow. Like example, sender is sending one data. Sender is sending one data. Let's take one exception subprocess here. Exception subprocess will help you to uh, it will yeah first I'll show you where we can place this. Okay, so here we can place this within the integration process only. We can use this exception subprocess. This will be not placed in the outside of the integration flow. We can't place this in the okay. So we need to use this exception subprocess within the integration process. We need to use this. Okay, so I'll tell you why we will use this. Okay? So when any like example, sender is sending one data. While processing the message to the receiver, in between the integration flow, it got failed due to some issue. Okay, sender is sending data to receiver. At the time, it within the integration process, the message got failed. So at that time, we need to notify to the sender, right? Sender will not know whether sender is a message is processed to receiver or not unless until we will send some response back to the sender. Will not receive it. Like sender will not get the notification. Okay. So at that time, so sender is processed some data. It got failed in the CPI integration process. Some due to some reason, any reason due to the receiver connection is not working, or we have some data issues, right? Some while converting some data in the integration process. At that time, it got failed due to some reason. So at that time, what it will do is integration process. This main flow, right? This is the main flow. You see, this is the main flow, and this is a sub process. Sub process means it's another process. If it is failed, then it will go for the other sub process. So we will use the sub process to notify the sender. Like example, it's a acknowledgement or alert. It's like a alert configurations in the integration process. Because sender is sending some data, and he thought the data has been processed due to receiver, but due to unfortunately due to some issue, it got failed in the integration process. At that time, receiver sender wants to know whether is it processed to receiver system or not. At that time, what we will use is we will use exceptions of process here to send alert. Okay, so how you will use and what are the configuration you will do, we'll discuss on it. Okay, so this is the exceptions of process. Do you have any questions or any? Do you need any more clarification on this? Please let me know.
Sir, so for acknowledging the sender, we will be using this exception, right? Whether the message is sent successfully or not.
Not acknowledgement actually. So only at the time of failures, it
Okay.
will work
Only
only
during the
the.
failure, it will be okay.
It will notify the user. Actually, we'll use one mail configuration. I'll show you how it will notify and all those details. So
Okay, sir.
the concept for the exception sub process exception. If you got any exception within the integration process while processing message, sender wants to know or receiver wants to know, whatever sender or receiver, because it's like a mail triggering. Like when you anything failed in the integration flow, whatever the mail IDs or whatever details we have provided in the exception sub process, it will be notified to the respective teams actually. If you like example, it will we are using one mail configurations to use alerts. Okay, the exception sub process will send mails to the uh, receiver system. Okay, receiver or sender, it will send the notification. While sending it, right, it will use a mail configuration or any other process it will use, or JMS queues. JMS will be used to retry mechanism. Okay, I'll tell you that also. So mail or JMS queues. At the time, what it will do is it will send an alert to sender or receiver. Send exception to sender or receiver system. Okay, so this will mainly used to send exception notifications to the sender system or receiver system, and to notify to our as well. So CPA consultant as well. Okay, CPA consultant as well, because we also don't know unless until if you go and check this integration flow process in the message monitoring, right? Unless until you see the process, you will not know whether is it failed or not, because sometimes some companies they have their own support team, CPA support team will have, and its own development team. So development team will develop the interfaces and hand over it to the support people. So support people don't know whether which process it is using and what it using unless until they come and check this integration flow, they don't know. And same process, unless until they go and check the message monitoring process, they don't know whether this message is failed or not. So that's why what they are what in the initial stage of development, what they are doing is they use exception sub process. Under the exception sub process, they will add one receiver here in the end of the message, and they will use mail configuration here. Mail configurations. Okay, so mail, in the mail, what it will do is it will send the alert when it's come. Example, it got failed due to some issue in the receiver side. Receiver connection is not working. This connection is not working. At the time, automatically the message will trigger to the acceptance of process. Here the error will start. These are all the error events actually. It will be in on the events tab. Okay, if you see end event, error, end message, these are all the part of the integration flow. We'll use different stages. Okay, I'll discuss about this. Okay, so when end message error with end with error, at the time error end starts, sorry, error start message will trigger automatically. So this is a loop actually. So any message will end with error, then it will trigger the error start. If any message end with exception, error exception, then it will start with error start. So this is how the uh, events will be used. We call it as an event. Okay, this palette option we call it as an event. Here we have a different stages. So with the help of these, we will go for it. Okay. So once error message is end with error, then error start event will start. Then it will trigger the message to the end receiver. What is the end here? Mail. So these are one of the mail receiver we are using. Here we will configure the respective team, the connection details, address and mail configurations will be the different. And here use the from where the message mail is coming to, example, my mail ID. I'll give the my mail ID from SAP. Let's take a sample, okay? CPA.com or any gmail.com. 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 So any mail ID, whatever mail IDs you will configure here, it will trigger an alert to the this particular mail ID. So this is how the acceptance of process will work actually. So till now, do you have any questions? Please let me know, because these are all the major process we will use in the all integration process. Exception sub process is the main. It's like a default option, because every integration flow we need to get the exceptions right. So at the time we will use this acceptance of process. We don't know when it will be failed and which case it will be failed. We don't know. But in any failure, we require to notify why it got failed, and some error description it needs to trigger as a mail. So this is how we will go for the acceptance of process. So please let me know anyone have any questions on it, or we'll go for other process.
Yeah, Dinesh. Uh, Here we are catching the exceptions, right? And if suppose if we want to send the success messages also, are we going to use this?
No, we are not going to use. Only this will be used only for errors.
Okay, good.
So if there are multiple exceptions, so is it like, are we going to use each exception sub process for each exception or how?
No. For one integration flow, let's take okay. So one integration flow, we will use only one exception subprocess here. If you have multiple integration process, like we have other processes, if you see local process and local subprocess, you can see here, right? So these are all the different options. We'll use it. So there also we can use this exception subprocess. For each integration process, we will use exception subprocess. And the same like integration low, if you go for integration process, okay. So this is another integration process. You can see integration process here, it got changed to integration process 1. Okay, so here also you can use that exception. If you go here and select these, here also you can use it. So exception subprocess will work individually for one integration process. It's not a global, it's only local process for each integration process. So if you see, you call it as this entire white screen, you can see here, right? This entire white screen is a global, and each integration, this is one local process, and this is one local process, and you can add another local integration process. If you see, this is also another local. Here also you can use exceptions of process. Okay. So this except for this example, this is exceptions of process 1. This will be purely work only for this integration process. If you go for this exception sub process 2, this will work only for the integration process 1. This will work only for the integration process 2. Okay, so this is how the exception sub process will work individually for the integration process, individual integration process.
So you mean
So
to say one integration process can have accompany only one exception sub process, right?
yes,
Okay, if we encounter multiple exceptions, so then we need
same,
to
same
split it
exception.
and
No need to split it. Okay. Example, we have 10 steps. Okay, let's take. Okay, so let's take one example. Let me add one content modifier. Okay. So this is one step. As per integration process technology, terminology, we will use this is one step. When we use one palette option, this call it as a one step. If you use another content modifier in the flow, this is second step. This is first step, and this is second step. If you add one more, like any converter, okay? If you see CSV to XML format, this is a one step. So these are all the each step, first step, second step, third step. We call it as the steps in the integration flow. Example, message while transferring message to the content modifier, it got failed. Automatically, it will trigger an exception to the exception. It will not follow the other steps. Okay, first step, if it is failed in the first step, the other steps will be not followed. It will directly trigger exception to the exception sub process, whatever the mail IDs and whatever the details has configured in the mail configuration, automatically it will trigger alert to the respective teams. Here itself it will fail. Okay, we can't expect the second failure. It will be because it will not proceed further. So is it clear? Or
okay. Yeah,
So,
thank
so to be precise, we create, these exception sub process to to notify the respective teams about the failure. About the failure at any step. So, as an
yes,
example, content modifier 1, content modifier 2, CSV to XML. So, these are the three stages we have in this integration process. And whenever or wherever we the system gets an exception, or it gets into it, or whenever it runs into an issue, then and there the process stops and the error message will be triggered to the respective participants.
yes. It will trigger
Okay.
to the acceptance of process first. Then whatever the configurations we have in the acceptance of process, right? It will trigger the alerts. Or we have another process also. I'll tell you while we are using a JMS queue. Okay, at the time I'll
Sure,
tell you
sure.
how it will work.
And
For
yeah,
now, you just think about the mail alert. Okay, it will trigger an alert. That's it.
understood. So And last one is like, when you say it triggers the, I mean, it triggers an email. So what happens to the further process? As an example, content modifier one, the process got completed. And while processing the data in the stage of content modifier two, and some exception got triggered. Is the process going to complete or it is going to trigger the alert and stop the process?
It stopped the process. In the content modifier 2 itself, it stopped the process, it will trigger an alert. So then
So
we
it
need to,
Okay, okay, okay.
yes,
So it's
then we
not
need
going
to,
to complete the process. Okay, okay.
yes,
Got
it
it,
will not
got it.
going to complete the process.
One second. Yeah, Dinesh, please tell. Then we need to do what?
Yeah, so then we need to go for the monitoring process. So I'll tell you, I will show you as well. Okay. So we need to check in the monitoring process and why it got failed and what, if you see some error, it will show you some basic error description. Okay, while configuring the message, right? So we will configure the process, the subject based on the subject and message body. We will configure it, which message got failed and what is the reason. Will not capture it. If you required, you can capture it the error description here, but most of the cases will not configure. Only the message ID we will capture it. So based on the message ID, we will go to integration process and we will check the message. Why it got failed and what is the reason it got failed, we will identify. And we will notify to the users, the sender system with the respect to the in detail analysis from our end. So this will be come under support activity. So they will take care of it. So once it's
Okay.
hand over it to
So
the,
so the sender again send the file with the corrected file. Let's imagine, and
yes,
what will do? It will come to content modifier 2 directly, or we should start manually.
no, no, it will start from the starting point.
Oh, so it's a press load again. So
Yes,
previous
it's a
load is
fresh loading.
ignored.
Previous loading will be in the error. It will be in the error.
Okay, so we are not correcting that back.
No, no, we are not correct. We are not correct. Okay, even we don't have option to correct in the CPA. So we have a queue mechanism process. I'll tell you. So if any like example in the content modifier two, one message is received from the sender. Okay, so content modifier one has processed, and while sending it to the content modifier two, we got some exception. Okay, so at that time we have another option JMS queue called as a JMS queue. So here instead of mail, okay, instead of mail, we will use JMS adapter here. Let me show you that as well. Okay, so we will use here we have a JMS queue. Okay, you can see JMS adapter will be used to reprocess this message again. Okay,
Yeah.
so content modifier too. Like example, some cases data level, uh, like example, data issue is there, so that's why it got failed in the content modifier too. At these cases, we can't do anything because the data needs to be corrected from the sender and it needs to be re-trigger again to the uh, CPI integration process. So this is we can't do anything for this scenario, for data issue scenario. But some cases we will receive exception from the receiver connections. Okay. So example, if you see receiver system is there. Okay. So receiver system is there. So receiver system having some outage or some connection issues, an unexpected outage issue. So the connection HTTP connection, receiver HTTP connection is not working. At the time, so they have some outage for 1 hour or 2 hours. So what we will do is we will when we configure the JMS queue, the JMS queue process, it will have the retry mechanism. Retry means once message is received to the sender, automatically it got failed in the HTTP. Automatically what it will do is it will come to error star and then it will use the JMS adapter. Then it will reprocess the message again from the starting from this step to this step. It will reprocess the message. Okay, it will show you the JMS Q1, Q2, Q3 because how many times it got retried and which cases it needs to retry. These will be configured in the JMS queue. I'll tell you in detail when we are using a JMS queue adapter.
Yeah, Dinesh, I
Okay, so
got
we
it.
have different adapter topics. Okay, there we'll discuss more on this. Okay, so
Yeah,
now
got it.
let's take
Once
about
my
yeah. Now we'll
sorry.
just check about the mail. Okay, so in the mail, how we will get the mails. So I'll show you today itself. Okay, we can do that and we will configure the same as well. Okay, so this is how the exceptions of process will work. Okay, so do you have any questions on it? Please let me know so that we can discuss or we can move further process. Okay, so I think everyone is clear. Okay, so let's create one scenario for it. Okay, so let's take one mail because in the receiver end we don't have any HTTP connections, so that's why I'm using. So we have a free mail server. You can also create this mail trap. Okay, so mail trap is one of the free mail communication. Okay, so these are freely providing mail services to us. So we will use this because our Gmail will have it. Our Gmail also will have a capability to receive it, but due to the security reasons, we can't test more scenarios in our Gmail. So that's why we are using Mailtrap. It's a free mail account for testing purpose. Okay. So here we have a host name and everything. Host name, port, username and password, and our mail ID. And it has their different mail ID as well. So with the help of this, we will configure it and we will test it. Okay, so let's start. Okay, I'll tell you in detail how we will configure this. Okay, for now, for testing purpose, I'll using this. Okay, let's go to mail adapter and connection details. I'm using mail connection. Port should be 587. Let's take one port. Let's see. This is through internet and credentials. So the username and password is there, right? This credential will not directly use it in the integration flow. We have dedicated store. We have dedicated option to store the username and password in the monitoring part. Okay. So you just save it. I'll tell you in detail when we go to the monitoring part and adapter part. I'll tell you in detail. For now, you just save this in the security material. In the message monitoring, we have a message security, manage security. Under the manage security, we have a security material tab. Under the security material tab, we need to create the username and password. So I'll tell you all about this, okay, in the later classes. For now, you just create this. Okay. So let's give any name, mail server. I just given something, and username should be the username whatever we have it in the username, and password should be the password. I just copied it. I'm just giving it here. Okay. I just saved it. I need to deploy this. Okay, you can see once it's deployed, the status will be show as a deploy and the name will be shown. So this name we need to use it in the integration flow. We can't use directly the credential, the username and password. We can't use directly in the integration process. So that's why we require to maintain the credentials under the security material. Under the manage in the message monitoring, we have a manage security. Under the manage security, we have a security material. Under the security material, we need to maintain the username password while creating the basic authentication. So we will discuss more about these in the later classes. So now user credentials, you can use this. You need to give the username and password and you just give some name here. And this name we need to maintain it in the integration flow. With the help of this name, it will call the credentials. The username and password, it will access it. Okay, so this is how the security will be maintained. Okay, so now for now, I'm just using this. So username and password is maintained there in the security material, and I'm using the credential name here and going to process. So from mail ID, you can give any name here because we don't have mail server for now. So you can use any name, SAP CPI at cpa.com or any name you can give it. This is just for reference, okay? And going for the for two mail ID, you just give the my to address in the email, whatever the mail ID, right? You can copy or else you can copy like this. Okay? Just copy this and go here, paste it here. Okay, this is my two mail ID. So I need to receive mails to this address. Okay, so this address I need to receive it. And in the subject, I'm using success. Okay, I'm using success, and body, in the body I'm just storing the whatever data will come from the source, right? I need it. Okay, so the text and format, everything you just forget about it. We will use in the later class. Okay? The security, when we come to security, it's a none. There is no algorithm we are using. We are not encrypting and we are not validating any signature. Okay, so just for what I have given, you just take the server username and server credentials and port. This is server host name and port we are using. This is through internet, and I'm using the basic authentication, plain username and password I'm using format, and the user has maintained it in the security material level. The credentials are maintained. The name we are taking it as a reference to validate it. In the processing time, I'm just given one random mail ID format and two mail ID I'm using it. So here I'm using a success. Why? Because I'm giving success here. I need to know whether is it come from the direct process or any exceptions of process. So that's what I need to check. Okay, I'll use the same mail ID for success and failure. I'll show you how we'll use it as well. Okay, so here I have given success. Okay, now everything is same. Now I'll go for the other mail ID. Here also I'm using the mail configurations. I'll go for here content modifier. Here also I'll use the mail ID. And port 587. Include basic credentials. I'm using this username and password. So here I'm using the same mail ID, or else I use other mail ID. Okay. CPI failure at cpa.com. You can give any mail ID here. Okay, this is only for just reference. Okay, so here I'm giving mail ID SAP CPI failure at cpa.com. And here I'm using the same mail ID, my mail ID. So here I'm adding failure. Okay, I'm using the same body. Whatever the body will come, right? The same body we will use it. Okay, and the security there we are not using it. Here also I'm using the same host port and the same credentials we are using. And going to processing tab, I'm using some different mail ID for failure, and my mail ID, mail rep ID, I'm using it, and the subject is failure. Okay, let's see how it will be work. Okay, so let's save this first. I'll do one thing. I'll add one content modifier. We'll discuss more on this. Okay, so content modifier. I'm just adding a constant body. Okay. Sample mail test. Okay, I just given this data. Okay, where I'm not going to send any data. So this is a sample body. I'm taking it from the with the help of content modifier. Okay, I'll tell you how it will be used and what is the use of it in the later class. We have dedicated content modifier class. Okay, so I'll explain you there. Okay, so for now I'm just adding this. Save. Oh, sorry. So save as a version. Save as a version. I saved it. It's a version 1.2 and deploy it. So now it got deployed and connection. So we have a test endpoint. So once it's deployed, right, you need to check it in the in the message monitoring tab. If you see here, the message monitoring is deployed. You can see sales capture. So this is our integration flow, sales capture. It got deployed. When it got deployed, April 8th, 7:45 AM it got deployed, and who deployed. So these details will be captured here. Whenever you deployed any integration flow, the deployment status should be in the started and the date date and time and everything, it needs to be matched with our details. Okay, so you need to check this. So once it's deployed, right, it will generate one endpoint URL. So currently it was not generated any endpoint URL. Let me refresh it. With the help of this endpoint URL, we will test it. We will test our scenarios. Okay, so this is the endpoint URL. It was generated automatically. This endpoint will URL will be generated automatically. Till here, it will be the same for all integration flows for one tenant. If it is development system, the host will be same for all the development integration flows, right? So till here it will be the same till HTTP. So whatever the endpoint you can see, right? Dot text, sorry, slash test. So this has given in the integration in the sender connection. Whatever the address you will give here, this will come under last. The remaining part will be the same for this tenant unless until the tenant will be changed, right? So unless until if it is not changed, the endpoint will be not changed. This is the endpoint will go for all the endpoints. I'll show you for other exceptions. Okay. So we'll see this. Okay. So this is the endpoint has generated by the system automatically. So we will use with the help of this endpoint, we'll call the CPI. Okay. So before going to this, I need to create a security material. Someone asked me in the last week. So while sending it message from postman, they are getting for 401 unauthorized error. Someone asked me in the last class. Okay. So why we will get that error means when we are developed any interface and deployed it after deployment, right? So you're supposed to required to maintain some security parameters in the BTP cockpit level. Okay, so BTP cockpit level, we need to maintain the security parameters in the instance level. In the instance level, we need to maintain the security properties. So if you not made any security key service keys here, no, this will be not help you to call the CPI flow. Okay. So this is how you need to maintain the security keys. So you need to use the security keys while triggering this integration flow. While triggering any data to this integration flow, you need to use the security keys. Whatever security keys are maintained in the BTP instance level, right? So you need to use that. I'll show you how to use it. Okay. So till here you are clear, right? How and why we have maintained these endpoints for mail and exceptions. So do you have any questions? Can anyone speak?
Can anyone explain what is discussed so far? Yeah, Sampath, do you like to explain what are we discussing?
Sure. So we started with palette functions, and we are done with the participants option. Then we moved on to process. So we have like three types of process available. So like exception sub process, integration process, and local integration process. And we just started with exception sub process. Mainly, this is used to notify the respective teams about the failures of the process. So in case if anything happened or I mean, anything did not go properly as per the integration process, in whatever stage the exception or the error has
So,
occurred, then and there,
yeah,
the mail will be sent to the respective teams.
yeah,
And
Sampath, no, that is what we discussed so far, right?
okay,
Yeah, for everything, are you able to understand why it is required in the real
yes.
time? Okay, that is one thing. Second thing, what do you mean by palette functions, palette options? Can anyone tell? Why do we need them?
No, this is like, palette
Just a quick
options are
recap. Yeah, just a 5 minutes quick recap. Because if you don't understand the importance, like you may not be knowing the importance, right? If you like, just thought of, suppose if you are a carpenter, you need to have your toolkit, right, to do your work, day-to-day work, isn't it?
yes.
So all the functions, predefined options, like these are all the options given to you, are all your toolkit. The more you understand the tools, the more varieties of work you can handle. Is this clear?
Yes.
So, for every step, for every what we call the option, palette option, that is the standard option given by SAP. Assume like they consider all the real world, like all the different domains, what we call customers from banking, insurance, oil and gas, all the varieties of customers they take into consideration, and what are all the requirements they do have in the real time, and they are going to provide some standard options, right, which will be helpful to cater the service for every single kind of customer. 99% of the times the standard toolkit itself is enough to take care of the real world needs. Is this clear?
Yes. Yes.
So Srikant, you got a question, right? So how do we resend the messages, retrigger the messages?
Correct.
Yeah, so ideally, if the data error is there, ideally that should be corrected from the source and it should be retriggered. Okay, depending on the issue. Suppose, like, we need to think always like this. You are building one interface, and this interface is like a bridge, is like connecting two systems, right? One road, it's like a road. Assume like you are building a road from uh, one place to another place. Okay, once the road is complete, the
Uh-huh.
traffic will be continuous, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, suppose like how do you manage the traffic, and what kind of different issues may occur in the real time? So all those things we need to plan well ahead of the, like, well in, like before completing our development itself, right? Like a bridge, suppose if rain comes, flood water, how we need to route, everything will be planned by the time of the designing bridge itself, isn't it?
Okay.
Isn't it? I- Suppose if you are
Yes.
if you are building a bridge over a river, or or a flyover, so you will be designing in such a way all the real time issues it should sustain in the all different varieties of weather time, right? Even for the signboard, it should be very strong enough to uh, sustain in the heavy winds. All those things you consider, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? So
Correct.
that's what
Yeah.
exactly we are doing. That's what exactly we are doing here. Business give a requirement to you. When you are designing the solution, you need to think like sender triggers the message. They expect the message will be delivered to the receiver in the real time itself, in the fraction of seconds. For some reason, if the data failed in CPI, who will know? They will not know. The receiver says, I didn't receive the message. Sender says, I already triggered 3 days back. If the invoice is not cleared, then when they troubleshoot the issue, what we notice in CPI, guys, you put one extra comma, and that particular extra character, due to that extra character, CPI could not process your file. It's failed. So if we don't tell to anyone, if we don't notice in the real time, it may be delaying the business, right? It's not good, right? In the real time.
Yeah. That's right.
That's what exactly what we are dealing with, this exceptional process. It will immediately trigger the email to the concerned person, if depending on the interface importance, if it is the finance related, or it is going to impact the business. So the intended person should be notified. For some reason, if there is an issue in the flow, the set of people, from people from sender side, people from CPI side, people from, like, the support end, whoever is like required to be notified, we notify them. Is it not a useful tool?
Yeah, it's must. That is very helpful.
Yes, it is very
Yeah.
essential.
So the importance, we are trying to understand the importance of the application. So every single tool is given for a purpose. If you understand each and every tool, and then if you do practice from your end, then you will understand more. The more practice, the more handy. Like if you have one tool, if you use it again and again, like multiple times, then you will become more comfortable with the tool, isn't it? Guys, you need to
Yeah.
speak out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So same way, errors may come in the other reason what Dinesh already discussed. Sometimes you see outage messages, right? Bank, most of the times you see they put a banner,
Correct.
patch
Maintenance.
upgrades.
Yes, yes,
Tonight
yes.
bank
About
is
the
not
scheduled
available up
maintenance.
to 2 o'clock. Yeah, maintenance. Yeah. So these are all like common issues what we see. Most of the times when you go to ATM, out of order or something they put like it is under upgradation, under maintenance. These things you see, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, our flow is connecting to the system. When the input message is coming, we are supposed to deliver to the target system in the real time. But the target system is down. They don't need to tell us, right? Ideally, they need to notify us. But in the real time, if they don't tell us, still the messages will be piled up in our system in the error status. Okay, and then once the system is available, they will notify us, and then we will be sending the first message, and then the queue will be queue. What is the functionality of queue? FIFO, first in first out, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
First in first out. Is it clear? So
Yes,
the
yes.
messages will be piled up in a queue. Queue means suppose the first message failed, will be restarted and sent to the target system in the same order, first in first out. So the order will not be changed, even though in the real time these things may occur, but we are good enough to handle them. So the CPI tool is designed in such a way to handle all the real time problems. Okay, are we good?
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Yes,
I have
yes.
one question, KP, here.
Yeah, yeah, please.
So the error message, right? You told, and as Dinesh told me, and I got cut off in the last minute actually. So there is a retry option. So once the failed mess, for example, 10 messages piled up in the error stack, let's think. And first message had failed at here in the end point before receiver get it. So any manual intervention we should do and come to this flow and click on retry, or where exactly it will start and how the
Yeah,
next
yeah, yeah.
next process.
Yeah, this is actually we discuss more in detail when we go to monitoring section. We spend 1 week completely how to analyze the logs and how to get the like common issues. What will be the common issues in the real time and how to deal with each kind of issues. We will discuss in detail. But like depending on the scenario, he was explaining about JMS, right?
Mm.
So, depending on the scenario and depending on the error type, we will be knowing whether it is good to be fixed by our end or whether it is good to be fixed by the source side. So, all those things we will be analyzing before doing any action in the real time in the production.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. For now, our expectation for this week and next week is to exclusively focus on understanding each and every small tool given for us and understand each tool, what is the input expected for the tool in the sense like palette option. Okay, what is the input expected for that and what will be the output, when to use it, how to use it, when to not use it, and why it was given for us, what is the basic purpose of that uh, giving behind what we call. We want to understand what is the basic purpose of giving the tool for us. Are we clear? So, how do we connect to the sender adapter? How do we connect to the receiver adapter? How do we figure out the issues in the monitoring? All those things you don't need to worry now, because we have dedicated uh, slot for that to discuss in depth and in detail. Are we? Is it fair?
Yes, yes, KP, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Please continue. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's test this. Okay. So this is one of the end-to-end scenario we are going to test now. So here we have a success case and failure case. Both cases we have. So when the message reach to the end receiver, at that time it's a success case, and when it's failed with any other either in the receiver side, it will be a failure case for us. Okay, I'll show you both cases. So we have a for this testing in the real time we have a sender and receiver, but in our testing cases we don't have a sender system. So that's why we are using a postman tool. This is a third party tool which we can test it internally with the help of this Postman tool. Okay, so do you have any idea about this Postman tool? Can please let me know, because this is the main tool we will mostly use to test it, because we are not having the end-to-end system. So that's why we are using the sample flow with the HTTP connection, and the receiver will be the mail configurations, because we have a free mail server we have, and Postman tool have a capability to trigger messages. So this is why we are using it. Okay. So this is overall Postman tool looks like. Okay. So whenever you want to do any testing, right, at that time you need to go for a new tab. So it will show you the get, post, put methods. Okay. So here most of the cases will use the post method to post data to the sender. So first of all, going further, so do you have any idea about this Postman tool? Can please let me know. If you don't have, no, I just brief you the Postman tool as well. Then we'll go for the testing. So
Yeah, can you please brief? We have no idea.
okay, okay. So this is the Postman tool actually. So this will help you to test the APIs. So we call it as a API. So whenever one endpoint is triggered, right? This is we call it as a API endpoint or endpoint URL. We call it as a API endpoint or endpoint URL. Okay. So Postman tool will help you to test the APIs, REST APIs, and SOAP APIs, and some of other APIs also. It have a capability to test it through internet. It's a free service. You can download Postman tool in your system. You can use this. Okay. So after download, it will be like this. You will get a blank screen like this. Okay. So here we have a methods. This is a method. We call it as a method. Get method, post method, put, patch, delete. Okay. So here get will be used to get any data from that some location. Okay, some endpoint is there, so you will call the endpoint and you will need to get some data from the respective system. Okay, at that time we have one receiver here. Okay, for example, you just take it as a one receiver. Here at the time, if you want to get any data from this receiver using the Postman tool, at that time you will go for the get operation and will the endpoint URL. So then it will use to get the message from the particular endpoint, and it will show you to the show it in the response. Okay. When you go for the post will use for the post data to the end some particular receiver. Like example, here in this case we have some HTTP adapter we are using, and we have some endpoint. Okay, so let's take this one endpoint. So you want to post some data to the this endpoint. At that time we'll go for the post method. Post and put method, both methods we can use it, but the most feasible method is like a post. Okay, put is also work as the same, but we will go for the post most of the cases. Okay, so and patch and delete, this will be not under our scope, only delete, but we will not use this. Don't forget, don't worry about it. Only the post method we need to follow, because most of the cases we will go with the post method only. So this is how the endpoint and methods will be selected. The endpoint we need to paste here. Whatever the endpoint which is generated by the CPI, we need to copy the endpoint and we need to paste it in the endpoint URL tab. And the method you need to select it as a post. And coming to, so now we got endpoint URL and post method, but we need to maintain the security materials, right? The credential, the username and password we need to maintain to call our CPA services, right? It's not exposed to the internet. It's not a free to access everyone. It's like a Gmail, our Gmail account or any other mail account. So you need to provide a username and password, right? So same like in the Postman also, we need to maintain the username and passwords under the authorizations tab. So here we have a different methods of authorizations. So here we can go for the basic authorizations for now. Okay, for now we will go for the basic authorization. You just check this for testing purpose only. I'll tell you why authorizations and everything will be work. I'll tell you later class. For now we will go for the basic authentication. So here we have a username and password. Let me remove this. Okay, so username and password method, I'll go to security keys. Okay, so here in the instances you have seen, we have configured one security key, service keys, right? So these keys will be used to call the our integration flow. At the time we need to copy this client ID. So client ID we need to take it as a user ID, and client secret is like a password. Okay, it's like a password for us. So this is how you need to maintain the endpoint. So first we have maintained the post method and the endpoint URL, which is generated by our CPI in the after deployment. You will get the endpoint URL. So this endpoint URL you need to select here, and the credentials. To call this endpoint URL, we require a username and password. The username and password will be generated in the BTP cockpit tool. So for now you are clear, right? If you miss anything, no, you can't test it because it will give you errors. It will not allow you to test it. So that's why I'm clearly telling the endpoint you need to select clearly, method you need to select clearly, and the authorization also you need to select as a basic authentication, and the username password is a client ID and client secret, which is already generated in the BTP cockpit tool in the instance level. For instance, each instance will have different credentials, different service keys. Okay, so this will be vary depending upon the instances. For development system we have one instance, and quality we have one instance, and production we have one instance, right? So same like for each instance the service keys will be changed. Okay, so till now do you have any questions, or you are clear? Can
Yeah.
someone respond back, because
Yeah, yeah.
I need to know
Yes,
whether
Guys,
yes.
you understand it.
I have
No.
a question, guys. What is this Postman tool? Can anyone help me to understand?
So as per Dinesh's explanations, Postman tool is something where we test the process. After we deploy, we get the URL, and we will use that URL to test whether the process is working properly or not.
Why? Why do we need?
Yeah, we need to see whether the configuration, whatever we have set up, is working properly or not.
No, no. Why do we need? When do you need? See, Postman is a third party tool. It is not SAP tool. Is it clear?
Yes.
So you are creating one integration flow. Dinesh, can you please go on mute? So yeah, just to make everyone understand. So why do we need this tool? It is not SAP tool, right? You created integration flow. Why do you need Postman tool to test it?
To send HTTP requests.
In my
Don't have
understanding,
the
yeah,
No,
for
what
the
is the
testing
endpoint?
purpose.
Basically, yeah, just before that, one question. What is endpoint? We are using the word endpoint, right? It's a new term. If anyone is not clear, what is endpoint?
Endpoint is like the receiver, you know. If the receiver is configured, then we no need of this postman, I believe. Now the
No, no, no,
problem
no,
is
no, no. We can use postman to connect to receiver or sender.
correct.
Okay. The endpoint, suppose if you say www.switchit.com slash one web page, if I am referring to, slash library, slash courses. So I call it as an endpoint. But it is the starting point. Basically, the true meaning is it is the starting point. I have one service. It is in internet, and to locate that particular service, I am giving you one address, isn't it?
Can you repeat?
Yeah. If any service is available in internet, you need to connect to it. You need the address, right? How can you connect it?
Yeah.
You need one URL, right?
It's
Yeah.
the
URL
URL.
stands for
Yes.
Uniform Resource Locator.
Okay.
You, so URL you need, right? The endpoint.
Yes.
That's what we call as endpoint in our terminology day to day. Please do
Oh,
not get confused. You are creating one integration flow. Okay, step one. Step two. This integration flow is available in the internet. That means anyone across the globe can connect to this. Is this clear?
so that means the endpoint is equal to URL.
Yes. It is
Oh,
available in the internet.
this part we don't. Yeah, thank you.
This is the integration flow. This URL, whenever anyone triggers the URL, this particular link, what you are getting here. Okay, when you trigger this, it is going to trigger the iFlow. Our integration flow is going to be triggered with this link. Is this clear?
Yeah. Now it's clear.
So, do you want to allow anybody into your house without like authorization and without proper validation?
No, we don't.
That's what exactly what we are doing here. At the instance level, we are maintaining the secret, user ID password, right? We generated one user ID password, and the same user ID password, whoever is having the user ID password and the endpoint, they can connect to the iFlow. Is this fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. So why do we need Postman now? Because if you understand the background, then it will be easy for you.
Yeah, because to trigger the iFlow, we need the postman because that's the
Yeah,
main purpose, right?
ideally, in the real time, in the business environment, some sender system will be there. We
Yeah,
will ask the sender system, send the message. This is your
to trigger
endpoint.
the
This is, yeah, they will send from their application system. Sender is an application system, isn't it? They suppose if the sender is an SAP system, they write one ABAP program or something. They write in the code. They will be using our endpoint and user ID password. In the program, when the transaction is happening, the program will run and the program will trigger the iFlow and the message will be given to iFlow. Is this clear?
yeah. For me, it's 100% clear now.
One more time I will tell you. Suppose if the sender system is some .NET application or Java application or whatever the system, they write a code, right, to connect, to send message from the sender system to CPI. They need to write a code, right? Piece of code. Guys, you need to participate.
Yes.
Sender
Yes.
system,
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
somehow they need to send the message to CPI. We don't know how they send. But all that we do, what we give for them is, guys, we don't
Endpoint.
really pay any attention. Whatever the way you select, we are giving you the integration flow endpoint. And these are my credentials. Okay, using these credentials, this endpoint, you are good to trigger my iFlow. Is this fair enough?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yes.
That's what exactly
KP.
what we do.
The reason
We
we are
do-
not responding is if we unmute, right, the echo is coming. That's the reason.
Oh, okay. No, not a problem. As long as you are understanding, it's good. So here, one more thing is, in our case now, today, we do not have a sender system to trigger the message. Correct?
Yeah.
And in the real time also, when you are doing development, we discussed earlier, we build the objects as per the technical design document, and we call it as completing the build part. And what exactly we do immediately right after the build? We finish our unit testing. Right?
Yes. Yes.
What is unit testing? Unit testing is testing the objects created with your known data. It's not with the real data. It's not with the business data. Is it clear?
Yeah. Since
So
you are raising this point, we'll use Postman to trigger.
that's what
And
that's what I want to I want to make you understand. Why do we need Postman and when do you need? And what is the significance of using Postman? So when there is no sender system ready to send you the message, you need to somehow test your functionality. Somebody need to send the payload, right? What we call message or data input message, whatever it is. So that somebody is Postman. Postman tool is good enough to connect to internet, to connect to one endpoint using the proper authentication. So now are we all clear? Why do we need Postman? When do you need Postman? All those things?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you can go to your system and start downloading the Postman, and then you can start using it. So there, if you closely watch what Dinesh did in the configuration, only 4 things: the mode of operation, the endpoint, basic authentication, user ID password. Where did you get the user ID password? Also he showed, and then we are good to send the message to our integration flow. Not only for this flow, any other flow also, as long as you have the endpoint to the integration flow, you are good to post the message from Postman, as if it is coming from the sender system. Are we good?
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Anyone having any questions about Postman? Now, one small point I will clear and then we will go back to our practice. So, we got a question like earlier. Do we also connect to the target system using Postman?
yeah,
Do we
definitely.
need to connect to
Because
target system? Do we need to connect to target system? Is there any requirement? When do you get the
yes,
requirement like that?
yes, sometimes it may act as receiver, right? Sender.
Yeah. It can, using Postman, we can give any endpoint in the internet. Whether it
Correct.
is sender or receiver, we don't really pay. It doesn't pay attention. It is a tool. It will work. There, if you know, if you pay attention, he was telling post method and get method. If you understand, get method means you are sending student ID and you get the student name. Is it clear? You send something, get something. If you use get method, unlike post method or put method, post method is you can use just to post the content. You don't need to wait for the response message. Is it okay? Did you understand or not?
No. Can you elaborate on the get again?
No, methods, the same tool, endpoint, authorization, they are not going to change, whether you connect it on the target side also. but the method is there, right? Post method, get method, put method, all the different varieties of methods are given, right?
Yeah.
Suppose if you are giving student ID, you want to get student name from one server. Suppose if you want to give a location and you want to get the weather, what is the weather current at this point of time? Suppose if I want to give Hyderabad, I want to get the temperature over there. So if there is a service taking input as location, giving output as temperature, that endpoint I will call using get method. I send location as input and I will get temperature as output. Is it clear?
Okay. Yeah. So that means you are telling the get method will give the output back, but post
Yes,
is
yes,
just
yes.
the
Yeah. You post them and just trigger and forget. You post content. So post also can be used on the receiver side also, depending on the scenario. But if you understand, Postman is a neutral tool. It can be used to connect to sender as well as it can be used to connect to target. It does not know whether it is sender or receiver. Depending on it, it is good to connect to any endpoint in internet. So we are clear, right?
Yeah.
So when the target system side, if the person is not available, or if you want to check from your end, you can also use Postman. Suppose the CPI is giving error when processing a message to target system, and the same message you can take it and trigger from Postman, and then you can check why it is working from Postman, why it is not working from CPI, or why it is from CPI, why it is not from Postman. Suppose if you want to double check if there is any error or issue or something like that, troubleshooting. But anyway, for now, you need to understand Postman is a tool which is good enough to connect the internet endpoint. Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah, for now, we are using Postman because we do not have any sender to trigger the message. And using Postman, we trigger the message to CPI, right? Integration process will start. Integration process, what are all the steps we are testing, and each step what it is doing, we will be monitoring, and then we will be learning each and every option. So the integration flow we keep as it is, and we change the functions, and then we learn each and every palette function. So is it clear? Guys, I am asking again and again, don't mind, but to make sure you are understanding
Yes,
the
sir, it's
strategy.
clear.
Yeah, our agenda is to master all the, like, understand all the palette options, right? So now, for now, we are not going to put more focus on adapters. How do we configure and what are all the different types of systems where adapters? We are not focusing on that area. We do have dedicated sessions for that. Okay. Yeah. Let us continue, Dinesh.
Okay. Yeah. So I have selected get method because I need to get some response. Is it success or not? I want to know. So that's why I'm choosing a get method here instead of post. Okay. So now I have given the endpoint URL and the username password. I'm going to the body. So here I'm selecting the raw, and then if you required, I can select the format. So for now, no format is required because already the data content in the content modifier itself, I have maintained whatever the data it's required to process it, right? The data it has mentioned. If I maintain anything or something, if I maintain it, right, this will not go to receiver. Only the whatever data is there in the content modifier, so it will go to the receiver. We'll check more detail in the content modifier level how it will work. So for now, we'll test it. Okay. So now I have given all the details and I just sending hi to this endpoint URL. Let me send this. Okay. So once I trigger the message, I receive some response. Okay, you can see the response code is showing 200 OK. Okay, 200 OK means it's processed successfully from sender to receiver. From sender to receiver, message got processed successfully without any intervention. If you see here, we got the response as well. You can see the response is sending back whatever the sample mail, right? Sample mail test for acceptance of process. Whatever I have maintained it in the content modifier, the response we received it back. And let's go to mail and let's see whether I received a mail or not. You can see I received a mail with success subject. Okay, with the success subject, I received a mail to the mail trap and the data, whatever the data I want to receive, the data I received it. Sample mail test from the exception. So this is for success case. Okay. So success case, if you see, it was triggered to the mail receiver mail adapter with the connections, the mail from mail ID SAP CPI. And if you see here, the mail ID from mail ID SAP CPI at cpa.com, and the two mail ID is my, and the subject is success. Okay, this is for success case. Okay, now we have an issue in the mail configuration. Okay, let me edit something in the same mail. Okay, let me test it. Okay, so now I'm just removing this port. Okay, now I just removed this port, I just saved it, and I just deployed it. So now from where I will get the mail? Will I get mail from the success case, or any other case? Will I get the mail? Can someone tell me? So from where I will get the mail?
From where?
Ideally, it has to throw an exception from the sub process. So
Yes. So here we have a other mail ID configured. So here we have a exception process, and we are using the same configuration. So but here we are using a failure subject, and the mail ID is also different to identify the message mail, because we are using the same mail ID. So that's why the mail IDs are different. I just given the mail IDs are different. Okay. So now I can see. Let me see the deployment status. 826. Yeah. So just now it got deployed. Let me cancel this. Okay. Let me go to deployment log. Okay. So now refresh this. So you can see the deployment are deployed at 826. So it will match with our deployment. Okay, so now it got deployed. You can see endpoint is not yet generated. It will take some time to generate it actually. Some cases it will take immediately, it will generate it. Some cases it will not generate. So every time if you deploy, in how many times you will deploy, those many times the endpoint URL will be generated. If it is same or anything, but it will be regenerated the endpoint URL. So if there is no change in the sender side, if there unless until if there is no change in the endpoint address, source endpoint address, the endpoint will not change. Okay, because the host till HTTP it will be the same for this tenant, this free tenant, and only the endpoint will be changed. The last point will be changed. If you change it in the source system, source connection details, it will change unless until if you don't change it, no, it will not change. So you can use the same connection. If you go here, the endpoint is also same. Okay, so I'm not going to replace it. If you change it, example, if you change this endpoint from test to something, then the endpoint will be changed here, the last point will be changed. So you need to copy this again and you need to use this new endpoint here. The credentials will be the same because we are using the same tenant to call, same tenant to same instance to call this tenant, right? So that's why the credentials will be not changed, only the endpoint will be changed in the postman. That's it. Okay, so let's see. Now I got I removed the mail server and everything is deployed and everything. So now I'll test it again, the same message. Okay, send message.
You were in get. Is it okay, or you should change to
Yeah,
post?
no issue, because why I'm pasting get means I need to get the response back to, right? I need to get the response back. So now also I got 200 request, server request. Okay, because we have another receiver. Okay, we have another receiver. The message has processed to other receiver. Okay, so we will get the mail from this. Exception will send you the other mail. Uh, Other mail are it's notified to the sender system based on the mail ID. Okay, let's go to here and let's refresh it. So again, oh sorry, I think it was not deployed correctly. Let me redeploy it again.
No, you kept success only in the message. check down, come down.
In the failure also, am I used success? No, I
It's
used a
okay.
failure subject. No,
Okay.
failure subject. I used a failure subject here. Supposed to trigger with the failure. Okay. The main here. I'm not used. Okay, let me test it again. Let me go here and further. Or else let me edit again and let me deploy it. Okay. So okay, I think the mail ID is taken, right? So that's how it's taken. So I just give a random mail ID. I'll save as a version and deploy it. It's in success. It's in, let's go here and refresh this. Now the point is changed. Now I'll trigger it again. Yeah. Now we can see earlier it was not deployed correctly. The page got stuck for so much time, right? So that's why it got not affected. So now I got refreshed it. So now we can see the mail has triggered from the failure. Okay, the mail ID is also changed. Okay, so the exception subprocess has taken initiation to process this mail to initiate the mail because we are using the mail ID and the subject is also failure. If you see it in the mail, the failure is coming, the subject is coming in the failure and the mail is also coming in the failure. So you can see the data, whatever the data will come, right, the data will be received here. If you want to modify any data while exception, you can add one content modifier here as well. So for success case, whenever the mail configurations are correctly configured, at the time it has processed to endpoint. So whenever the endpoint is working correctly, at the time mail has triggered with the with success mail configurations. Okay. So but whenever the mail configurations are wrong, the connection is not working, at that time the mail has triggered from the exception subprocess. You can see the mail ID is same because of that. I maintain the different from ID and subject case here. If you go and see here, the success case, the message has triggered with the success subject, and the mail ID is different mail ID and the message. And the failure case, the mail ID is different and the subject is different, and we received a message. So this is how the acceptance process will work. So do you have any questions here? And you are clear on it, right? How the failure has triggered and how the success was triggered in the mail. So let me know, because this is the main thing. We will, most of the interfaces we will use this exception subprocess. So you need to clear on it. So can someone tell why this failure has triggered?
Because we removed that port ID. The port number has been removed, right? In the configuration part,
Yes.
we didn't define the port.
Yeah, the connection is wrong.
Yeah,
Okay,
the connection.
in the real
Right,
time,
right.
in the real time, the connection may not run, but the interruptions between the connection, like a receiver to our CPI system, the connection will not work sometimes. So receiver may down or some issues with the receiver at that time, so the connection will not work, right? So at that time, how this failure has process, right? Same like it will call the acceptance of process and trigger an alerts to the respective teams. Okay, and I'll show you how it will be monitored as well. Okay, so I'll show you what is the difference between these two messages.
Dinesh, before we proceed, I just have a small doubt. I mean, I think you already cleared it, but I just wanted to double check. Can you go back to that, yeah, go to the process. See, we have this message right under body, sample
Yes.
mail test for exception. So
Yes.
we are getting the same message for both success and failure, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
because it is maintained in content modifier, right?
Yes, it's maintained in
Okay.
the main flow. Whatever the data will come, right? It's maintained in the main flow. If you want to modify that, right? We have the same option. Okay, if you go here, content modifier. So you need to place content modifier in the exception
No, no.
subprocess.
The question was, Sampath, where it is failing before like giving handover to receiver, right? So already content modifier step is crossed. So whatever is there, it will come.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you get it?
So here, yeah. So I'll
Yes.
tell you. I'll tell you the difference. Okay, success case. This message.
No,
This message
Dinesh.
supposed to go to.
No, what his question is, why it is coming the same message in both the cases?
Because we maintained only one content modifier to process it, right?
No,
So
answer
now
is no. Answer is after crossing content modifier, it is going into exception, not before. So either of the cases doesn't matter, right? Content modifier step is executed.
Right. Okay.
So if you want to change this message also, you can change it in the exception subprocess. If you want to get the message, right? So then you need to add one more content modifier to get the failure case. I'll show you this as well. Save.
No. That's okay. They understood. Content modifier is to like once exception process triggered, if you cross that step, you get that step output. It's clear, right, everyone?
Yeah, for me it's clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any
Yeah.
step if you want to add in the exception sub process, they will also trigger in the sequence. If you are
So I'll
clear,
show you the message as well. Okay. So let's take this. I think the trace is not enabled. Okay. So if you want to capture this message logs right at that time, we need to enable something. So I'll show you in the later classes. Okay. So we need to enable the trace in the content modifier. Then we need to trigger message again. Okay. So the content modifier has taken the other exception. So that's why it got changed. So let's go to message monitoring first. See here trace. See we got a failure. You can see the error is showing here, right? You can see the message end-to-end message. I'll show you in detail in the monitoring classes how it will be. Okay, so you can see we got an error here. Then it has taken the acceptance of process. Here the message started process. From here to message started. From here to here, after content modifier, it got processed. It was trying to call the receiver system. From the receiver system, we got an exception. That's why it's showing in an error. Then it got automatically it was processed to exception subprocess to process this message uh, via failure case mail ID. So this is how the message process will follow, and we have a step-by-step process here also. You can capture each message. I'll show you in detail in the later classes. Okay. So for now, you are clear on the this acceptance of process, right?
Yeah, yes, Dinesh.
Yes.
Yeah. So do one thing. So we'll stop for now. Okay. So we'll discuss other looping process and local sub process. This is a simple one only. We'll discuss. We'll start with tomorrow. So for now, what you will do is you try to create one scenario same like this and test it from your end. Okay, for success case and failure case, you try to test it. And this is a mail trap. Okay, so you can use this mail trap. You can create with your mail ID. Okay, it will support your Gmail ID. You can use this for our testing purpose. Okay, you can use this mail ID. Mail trap is the application, so you can use this mail trap application. So you just register with your Gmail ID and password. We'll configure your IDs and we will test it.
Dinesh, can I share my screen? I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, one second. Just want to show you. So I started, I think you can see my screen, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I started configuring, but I got an error when I'm deploying. So if I deploy it, it's not allowing me. It's telling this third party, this is the problem. Actually, when I come here and when I see the log, right? So it's telling system name is not valid.
Okay. So the name is not in the correct format.
So this one?
Yes, the name itself is in the not correct format actually.
Oh,
Give that's why it's not accepted. So if you want to see the format also, when you place cursor there, right, it will show you the format. Third party. Yeah, have you maintained uh, any special characters in it?
3, I believe. Maybe.
No, it will accept alphabets. Sorry, numeric also it will accept. Somehow, can you refresh the page and deploy it again, or else save it and deploy it? Yeah, change the name and save it.
Yeah.
I think it's not accepting.
Yeah.
Maybe it has taking
Now
3
it's
as
on.
yeah.
Now it's on. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And whenever you see an error, right, it will show it in the error integration process error as well while deploying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problems you will see that. Okay. So do one thing. So for all tomorrow, try to test this scenario and provide your output. Whether is it working or not, are you facing any issues? Please let me know so that we will discuss more on this tomorrow. Okay. So for now, is it clear for everyone?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Maybe
Yeah.
upon practice, we might get more doubts. Yeah, we will get that cleared.
Yeah. So while I am testing it, right, it looks like simple to you, but when you test it, no, then only you will get to know will it work or not. Okay? Without practicing, you can't check it. Okay. So I think you may get errors as well. So try it from your end.
Sure.
So I hope everyone will test this and come back with results. I hope. Okay. That's it.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay then. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. All.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.